MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Montana Wild, hopefully soon back into the wilds of Montana. Coming up, an update on those 2 bear cubs roaming in Butte this morning at FWP's Wildlife Center, known as Montana Wild in Helena.
In the run-up to November, I'm Jared Hill with how Vice President Harris worked to defend her changing stance on issues in a major sit-down interview. Plus, former President
I'm Jonathan
Trump's
Amberian in Helena. St. Peter's Health is set to pay almost $11 million to resolve federal allegations of false claims involving an oncologist who formerly worked for them. I'll have all the details.
I'm Cassidy Powers, here to give you just a glimpse of the magic that Bumblewood Thicket has to offer. Stay tuned to learn about this year's annual Fairy Village.
Alrighty, it is 6:02 on this Friday morning. Jane McDonald and Matt Elwell with you. And Matt, sooner rather than later, Bobcat Stadium going to be the place to be in Southwest Montana.
A lot of the college football season was really kicking off last night.
Yeah,
absolutely. A lot of fun games. It looks like the weekend for football looks absolutely glorious. We've got dry conditions. It may be a little warm in the afternoons, but they're playing most of these games at night. Yeah. At least at the high school level. Temperatures into the 40s for most of us. We do have 30s in Butte and 28 this morning in West Yellowstone. Our skies are absolutely crystal clear. We do have just a touch of haze in our skies, but I think that is going to be our main concern as we head into the holiday weekend. Temperatures into the 80s. I expect to see pretty comfortable conditions today and tomorrow. It is going to turn fairly hot by the end of the weekend. I'm going to break that all down, take a look at your air quality and much more in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. Now, it's been a big week for those 2 black bear cubs found roaming the area around Montana Tech. And this morning, they are in Helena, awaiting medical testing. According to FWP's Montana Wildlife Center, the 2 cubs will remain in quarantine for a period of time before they will be placed in with the other black bears currently at the center. The ultimate goal is to release them back into the wild later this fall.
But we do like to try and get them out in the fall. In that time, though, we want to make sure that there's no chance of habituation. We don't want them learning that people are a good thing or anything like that. So we take a lot of measures to make sure that they don't see us putting out food, that they get to learn good bear behaviors from the other bears that are here, and kind of that black bear language. So.
Pond says that there are several other black bears at the center right now, all planned to be released back into the wild this fall. She says there is no hard and fast timeline for that, and it will depend on the weather and the bear's readiness. She also says the 2 cubs will be released together in the same area. Now on the national scene, a campaign first. Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate Tim Walz sitting in for their first joint interview since sewing up the 2024 Democratic nomination yesterday. Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump campaigned in 2 Midwest battleground states, focusing this time on women's reproductive care. CBS News' Jared Hill has the latest from New York.
From the campaign trail in Georgia to the hot seat,
my values have not changed.
Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz, in their first in-depth interview since officially clinching the Democratic nomination, spoke to CNN about her top priorities.
Day one, it's going to be about, 1, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy.
And clarified why she's changed her position on some policies she backed during her first run in 2019, like supporting a ban on fracking.
We can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking.
And decriminalizing the southern border.
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced.
Meanwhile, Walz took on scrutiny over his military service.
My record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
Former President Donald Trump called the interview boring on social media after he unveiled a new campaign promise while stumping in Wisconsin and Michigan.
Your government will pay for, or your insurance company will be mandated to pay for, all costs associated with IVF treatment.
Trump making news of his own with NBC, criticizing Florida's 6-week abortion ban, appearing to support a November ballot measure to expand access.
I think the 6-week is too short. It has to be more time.
His campaign later clarifying he hasn't yet said how he'll vote. Jared Hill, CBS News.
And former President Trump is on the trail over in Pennsylvania today, while Vice President Harris is back in Washington. Harris will campaign with President Joe Biden this Labor Day in Pittsburgh, and it's their first joint campaign event since Biden dropped out and endorsed her as the party's nominee. Now, back in some treacherous state headlines, 4 years after St. Peter's Health dismissed the director of their cancer treatment center, federal authorities have accused him of submitting false claims. And they've announced St. Peter's will pay nearly $11 million in a settlement over the allegations. MTN senior political reporter Jonathan Amberian has more details.
St. Peter's health leaders say that a settlement agreement with the U.S. Department of Justice announced Tuesday should resolve what they called an isolated incident.
While this chapter comes to a close, St. Peter's Health is focused on moving forward.
Both St. Peter's and the U.S. Attorney for Montana held news conferences in Helena Tuesday explaining the settlement. U.S. Attorney Jesse Laslovich also announced he had filed a federal civil case against Dr. Tom Weiner, who was St. Peter's chief oncologist through 2020.
This is an important day for our office and our federal partners.
Authorities accuse Weiner of overbilling government health care programs, including Medicare and Medicaid, by submitting claims for service that was unnecessary or double billed. They say St. Peter's knew or should have known those claims weren't accurate, and that they compensated Weiner with a salary based on false claims. Under the settlement, St. Peter's will pay $10.8 million, most of it in restitution to federal programs. Laslovich said the settlement amount is lower because St. Peter's voluntarily reported the issue.
They disclosed the misconduct that they thought occurred, and that's important, and then also worked with us cooperatively over the last period of years to resolve it.
Wade Johnson, CEO of St. Peter's Health, said they have updated their procedures in response to this to strengthen their compliance going forward.
We're focused on taking care of patients and doing the right thing. And so we continue to keep our focus on what the community needs now.
Weiner sued St. Peter's for wrongful termination and accused them of making false allegations against him. A district court judge denied his claim, but he has appealed that decision to the Montana Supreme Court. Weiner's attorney said in a statement to MTN, quote, "While we do not generally comment on pending litigation, Dr. Weiner denies any wrongdoing and asserts these proceedings are the result of ongoing employment litigation with St. Peter's Hospital. We are confident that when the evidence is presented in court, Dr. Weiner will be exonerated." Johnson says the $10.8 million payment will be about 7% of their reserves, but that it shouldn't affect their ongoing operations. In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Now, many Americans will be celebrating Labor Day this weekend, and law enforcement here in Montana are increasing patrols and encouraging residents to plan for a sober ride home. This weekend marks the end of the 100 deadliest days, the time between Memorial Day to Labor Day that typically sees the highest number of fatal crashes. According to the Montana Department of Transportation, preliminary numbers show that there have been 49 fatal crashes between Memorial Day and August 19th of this year. Local law enforcement agencies across Montana will offer overtime shifts for staff to focus on areas that see significant speeding or crash numbers.
You would feel horrible if you crossed the center line and killed a family who was just trying to get home, who had a plan, who was safe, but you weren't. Don't be that person.
MDT says as of 2021, 63% of all traffic fatalities in Montana are a result of impaired driving. Sheriff Dutton also wants to remind people driving impaired does not only mean drinking and driving. Other substances and lack of sleep can also contribute to how somebody drives. Now, if you're looking to add a little magic into your life, well, the fairies of Bumblewood Thicket are there to help. Our Cassidy Powers explored the whimsical village earlier this week and got some of the magic for herself.
Magic is in the air because the fairies of Bumblewood Thicket are back in town, here to show off their whimsical village. What inspired the candy store?
I have two little boys who love candy, maybe more than me, unclear, but it just felt right to have small little magic things also want to have candy.
Mary is an architect who created one of the 20 structures displayed in this year's Fairy Village. Each structure has its own unique story, just like Mary's candy shop, which is conveniently placed right next to the Tooth Fairy Academy. Pinky is another artist. She included cultural aspects from the Philippines in her Uruque summer home.
It came from the Philippines. It's from a palm tree. It's a tribal house, and they do have houses like this.
Random Acts of Silliness, in partnership with Gallatin Valley Land Trust and the City of Bozeman, has helped bring Bumblewood Thicket to life for the last 5 years.
The fairies are always around, you just might not know it. And once a year, they really invite the community into their space.
And the community is ready for the fairies, considering last year, around 18,000 visitors felt the magic of Bumblewood Thicket. And this year, they're expecting even more.
We know that just building trails isn't enough. You really have to make sure to pull people in. And an installation like this and this magical experience is an invitation to families to maybe go a little bit outside their comfort zone.
This magical fairy community is hidden away in the forest behind Glen Lake Rotary Park, and these trails are friendly to all ages.
I think everybody has a little bit of a connection to the fairies. Whether you're a kid or an adult, I think we all want to believe in something, right? And magic is just something that connects us all.
If you want to come experience the magic, as well as support artists who've spent months creating these intricate structures.
I started working on this probably middle of June, so it feels really good to see it be a final product.
Bumblewood Thicket is open to the public Friday, August 30th until September 22nd. For more information on this fairy village, visit our website. In Bozeman, Cassidy Powers, MTN News.
Cassidy Powers putting the power in Cassidy Powers.
That's true.
All right, we're gonna take a short break, but before we do, Matt, it seems that when we go across the pond, just funny, crazy things happen, and that does not end today. This is over in Wales. As you can see, gentleman dressed up as a turtle entering into a bog.
Okay.
Now, what is he doing?
Nobody knows.
Just a little snorkeling. You can't blame him.
I guess.
Well, there's some great things I'm sure that you can find in a bog in Wales. I mean,
why is everybody sitting there watching it?
Well, this is the Bog Snorkeling Championship, Matt.
Of course.
I mean, come on.
All right.
I had it written on your calendar, Matt. You were supposed to be there today. Jeez.
Get in trouble for not looking at the calendar enough at home.
There's always next year. We'll enter you next year.
That guy's got quite a beard.
Oh, he's ready. I mean, that one is a competitor. This one's just there for the laughs,
It's not
I
easy
think.
being green.
Absolutely nuts. You gotta find the rainbow.
What are people doing?
Now, this is a bit of a race, all for charity. They've been doing this for 38 years. It's become a pretty big staple of this small Welsh community, but it's also become a pretty popular tourist event as well. So if you're in Wales at the end of August, well, get your banana and head on out there, I guess. No, they do have some winners, I mean, that were able to swim this bog fairly quickly. So you can see they got flippers, they have a whole judging system.
I don't know the point outside of raising money.
Listen, I mean,
kind of looks muddy and kind of weird.
Well, when you can't make it to the Olympics,
yeah, that's true.
You go to the bog.
Either that or you you do the breaking competition.
You do that too, absolutely. Anything to get you a trip. All right, we're going to take a short break here on Montana This Morning. When we come back, though, well, it's time to talk about some politics. Much has been made of the red state, blue state divide, but there's a big split that seems to be growing more pronounced, that being men versus women. We're going to explore more of that political gender gap when we come back.